And Colette, just remember, this is simply fulfilling prophecy.
I know.
We know that daughters will turn against mothers and sons will turn against fathers. It's a part of the last days.
Yeah.
And I believe it's a temporary part, because if you listened to what Elder Holland posted, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, if you haven't heard it, it's beautiful. He talks about the gathering. But what do we think of the gathering? We think that's the Jews and the 10 tribes. But he takes it from a different angle, and he says those who've been separated from us, politically, financially, emotionally, culturally, they will all be gathered back. It's very, very comforting the way he does it.
Well, do you remember somebody attacked my Facebook? Well, I have been able to get it back. So I've got to go find that. And you said it was on Facebook, or was it on Instagram?
Both.
Okay.
Probably both.
I'll go check Instagram and see if...
I can send it to anyone.
For 2 weeks, we'll have Lawrence teach us. Get your book, The Infinite Atonement by Tad Callister.
That's what he's teaching, is Infinite Atonement?
So we're going to do a chapter at a time. I think there's like 17 chapters. And so, anyway, it might take us a year and a half to do it, but it's The Infinite Atonement. And so if you don't have it, you know, maybe you pick it up, or even, I know they have those books for, what's you use? Kindle. Kindle. So maybe it's in Kindle form if you have a Kindle. So anyway, get your books, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk at first, and we can do kind of a Q&A, and then Brad will teach us on citizenship in the USA.
Great, thank you. Greetings. It's a delight to be here again. This is wonderful. I was suggesting, it was 1 week ago today, right after our meeting, we all went home to the horrific news. So I thought, no, we've already touched on it a little bit, and I thought, how can we not talk about Charlie Kirk for 5 minutes? Not long. We could use the whole session easily for Charlie Kirk, but we've all seen what's happened in the last week, and I think Erica Kirk was right. They have no idea what they've ignited. Yeah. They have no idea that Charlie Kirk is within a week, within hours, within a day, became 1,000 times bigger than he was before. And I marvel that we talk about the memorials you all over the country. Well, and all over the world. Yes. They showed a little clip of, in Korea, South Korea of all places, thousands of people gathering in English saying, "We are Charlie Kirk. We are Charlie Kirk." You just go, holy smoke. Whereas in London, 1 million people came out in London. 1 million?
Yes. And the government's saying it's 100,000.
Yes, and they're lying there anyway. And so... you know, Australia, all over the world. Nobody would have wanted it this way, but if Charlie Kirk is going to be a martyr, his sweet wife is right that all they've done is made him 1,000 times bigger than he was before. What do they say? Turning Point USA already had 1,900 chapters or something. Within the last week, they've received applications, 37,000 applications for Turning Point USA chapters.
That's
I know.
mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling. It is. It's
only 23,000 high schools. So.
But it just goes to show how hungry the world. There's still this silent majority, this moral majority out there throughout the entire world. How hungry they are for the leadership or the reason or the permission to come out and say, yes, we are for these traditional values. We are for freedom. We are for these things. And frankly, against these things over here. Anyway, so we won't take very long. We could take the whole hour, but let's not just any quick thoughts on the Charlie Kirk phenomenon, and then we'll move on to...
Well, I'm finding it fascinating. People are going, who's Charlie Kirk?
They
get online and they're watching it and they're going, holy cow.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. He was big before, but not necessarily a household name. Well, he is now.
He is.
So, yes, please.
Yeah, I think I want to bring it back to us. I think there's been such a heaviness, especially around here, and I haven't been able to put my finger on it, but I have now. Charlie Kirk was killed, I think, because he was such a strong disciple and testimony of the doctrine of Christ. And when you listen to his words, he is preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ better than we do.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
That has really gone into my heart, that an evangelical Christian has been a better disciple of Christ than I have.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why are we scared? Why do we not speak up in our wards? We don't.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Relief Society teacher who was a BYU professor in my ward tell everyone in Relief Society how she supports abortion.
Yeah.
And one woman stood up against her, an older lady, and she turned on her. The woman leaves in tears. The message was, be quiet, or I will come out against you. I didn't even speak up, and you guys know in here I'm not a quiet person. And so I have been evaluating, why can I not be Charlie Kirk? Why am I afraid to preach my own doctrine that I believe with all of my heart?
Thank you. There was another hand or two, and I'll get right there. What I loved about Charlie Kirk, and so many people have pointed out, is he didn't hate anybody.
No.
And he reached out as best he could in friendship, and he was not belligerent. He was steadfast. He was firm, but not belligerent. And it reminds me, Alma gave those wonderful chapters of counsel to Helaman and Shivalon Coryanton. And to Helaman, talking about mission work, he said, be bold, but not overbearing. And I have pondered that phrase a lot. And to me, Charlie Kirk and our leaders and many other good people encapsulate that perfectly, of being bold without being overbearing. And Charlie Kirk, I think, just exemplified that just perfectly. Cheryl, hang on. There was a hand or two over here, and I'll get there.
And I was just thinking that maybe, I believe it was in the Lord's hands. It's kind of like, it's better that one man perish than a whole world dwindle and dwindle. It awakened us.
Yeah.
That we need to start speaking up. And I am not articulate in crowds like that, but there are those who are, and I think it is
Right.
not that.
Right. Thank you. Now, did I miss? Yes, sure.
Okay,
This is my wife, Cheryl, by the way, if you haven't met her before.
and we are on the same page in these things. But I have a hard time listening to a lot of the conservatives on the airwaves, both TV and radio, because they name call. And that bothers me. It really bothers me when they name call a president of the United States. I think there should be respect for that office, even if I don't agree with anything that president is doing. So I, as a citizen, have been one that has a difficult time listening to people that maybe feel the same way I do. But when my daughter said, do you want to come and hear Charlie Kirk? I said, I don't know. Is he going to name call?
Yeah, we were going to go to the rally.
Yeah, I said, is he going to name call? And she said, no, Mom, he won't name call.
He doesn't.
And I said, well, maybe I do want to go then. Maybe I do, because I can't take the contention that it feels hateful to me. And I can't take that. I don't want to. I have a hard enough time. The way I said it to Brad is, I have a hard enough time praying for my enemies because I don't want to call anybody an enemy. So I don't want to. I think you get the idea.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good point. And just one thought on the Cheryl and I have had this discussion many a time, and I see the hands. I'll get right to you.
My point is, Charlie Kirk is somebody that I didn't know who he was. Now,
Okay.
he's helped me to, there is somebody that was speaking like I would like them.
Thank you. Last year, if you saw my presentation about the war chapters, I just idolized Captain Moroni, and one of the reasons was he had to contend. He did not have a choice. He contended without being contentious, if that makes sense. And he contended with full strength. He brought it right to the enemy, but he never was driven by hate. It was always by other motives. Okay, 2 or 3 other quick comments, then I'm probably going to try and move on. Yes, and I'll just go left to right here.
Yeah, that's something that is a double-edged sword, because you want to be, that boldness, and a lot of missionaries have that. They're powerful when they have humility with boldness. That the world doesn't understand those two together. But the scriptures talk about wise as serpents and harmless as doves. And that's what he was. You could see his soft side, but he could come out with the sword of the word. I mean, he used truth and the sort of it can be a double-edged sword, but people could tell that he was still honoring what, let them speak, help them find their voice. And when I did a podcast on it just because I felt like I just had to get it out. As I was writing in the description notes on Latter-day Media, the description, I just started getting this download. He is with all the great martyrs over there. They're welcoming him. Joseph Smith, now he knows. His very first question, ironically, was about his testimony and standing for Christ. Now he can stand with Joseph Smith and know the restoration and the importance of those covenants. And, if that's how it works over there, at least I've felt that with my sister who left church. But anyway, I just felt like he's among the greats, and they can all, he's organized, kind of like Christ went over to organize. Now he can do more.
It there. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go this straight. So Steve, and then on across. Steve, real quick.
I beat you. I usually don't say much because I don't want to make a fool of myself. But anyway, me and Clett was talking about 3 different people. Jesus, Joseph Smith, and Charlie Kirk. And you can compare what happened to them. They all died in their early 30s. They were all killed. They were all preaching the Word of God. That they weren't learned people. Charlie didn't go to college. Instead, he chose to do this. Joseph Smith wasn't learned. Neither was Christ by the way. And every one of them became stronger, or you knew more about them, or you heard about them after they were martyred. And you can just go through and you can look at a lot of other things. And I'm not comparing Charlie Kirk to them, but I guess I am. But they all had similar qualities.
Excellent. I love it. I love that thought. Thank you. Okay, these 2 or 3 more, and I'm going to try and move on. Yes.
Who said this? Oh, ye brood of vipers, ye are like whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful on the outward, but are full of dead men's bones and all of uncleanness.
Christ said
you are full
that.
of hypocrisy and iniquity.
Christ said that.
So I can totally tell that is your personality. You're a gentle human. I have a daughter like you, and she is completely incapable of ever saying a mean word, even to a serial killer.
Oh,
But,
well, thank you, glad to hear that.
Going on.
but we have turned Christ into a teddy bear Jesus today.
Right.
We have been bullied into being quiet. And Christ taught us there's a time to be quiet, and there's a time to call things out. I don't know how we get back to finding that balance without being bullied into silence. So you were talking about Tony Robinson this weekend. I just posted it to my chat. He got interviewed. Do you know what Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of England, said? He said, look at this march on this weekend in London. They were all full of hate.
Oh my word.
Really? There was every color, every race, walking in the streets saying we're tired, we want freedom of speech back. And they were getting labeled as hate, and see any hate in that at all. So I don't know how we find this balance of what our Savior accomplished, of compassion when compassion is deserved, but honesty when honesty, I don't know how to do it.
Thank you very much, because I was thinking the same thing. I thought, well, the greatest example of dealing with evil is Christ. And Christ had tremendous love and forbearance and turned the other cheek and all that kind of stuff, but there were times when he did indeed say, whited sepulchre and hypocrites and band of, he called it out, and it was not out of spite, it was not out of hyperbole. It was not out of it was out of truth, is what it was.
Truth and principles.
And sometimes I think we have to call evil evil.
Yes.
We have to identify. Okay, we had 2 or 3 more. I really do have a presentation I mean to get to. So, okay, these 2 or 3 other hands I'm ignoring. I'm so sorry. Who else had their hand up over here? No? No? Too late now. 3, 2, 1. Okay.
I want to say
Okay. Oh, I knew it. Okay, here we go.
about Poland, because that's amazing. Their whole parliament honored him. And I just have to say, I was part of when Lech Walesa, the freedom fighter, there's a lot of prophecy that in that country with their king, it goes back to 900 AD, and anyway, there's some really interesting things. So that was planted years ago, just kind of like Joan of Arc brought that spirit of freedom here to this country. But Poland was the linchpin that took down the Iron Curtain, and then they had the Pope from Poland. I mean, there's some really interesting things about that with restoring the 10 tribes, and you know, I just wanted to say that was I was part of that in 80 and 81, and knew people over there personally and wrote to them for 2 years, and it just was cool to see the fruits. Not that I had anything to do it. I'm just saying. I feel like I was a witness to the planting of that for you.
Oh, oops,
Okay,
apparently.
I'm sorry, I have to say this because Brad probably won't. But I'm mean to him.
Hold it.
No, I just have to make it clear that I'm probably not like your daughter. Really. I have a heart. Temper is one of my challenges. But thank you so much, all of you, for helping us put it into context. But I'm not this quiet person. I've been my precinct chair. I feel so strongly about caucuses being our only solution. Anyway, you get the idea.
Yeah.
I'm a fighter.
We're all sinners
I'm a
until we're
fighter.
not.
All right.
I don't look like it, I don't sound like it, but I am.
Well, thank you again. We could spend the whole hour on this topic and it'd be worth it, but too bad. We're going to move on.
Alrighty.
All right, but thank you so much for those contributions. I appreciate it. This fateful week, and we'll feel it for a long time. All right, today, so again, thanks for the opportunity. This is my 4th chance to give a presentation. Cola has been very generous to me, and you're kind to put up with it. Last year, I did a thing on the ward chapters, as I mentioned. After that, Cole said, do you have any other ideas? And I said, yeah. I gave her a list of 24 different topics that maybe I could touch on. And so this happens to be one of them that she asked me to touch on. Citizenship in the USA. It sounds a little bit boring. I'm going to kind of spice it up, connecting it to cryptocurrency, to the end of the world. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do any of those things. But I do mean for this to mainly be a lot of discussion. I'm going to try and just promote a lot of discussion as we go along here. So hang with me. Let's go through this and see what we think about this amazing topic. So today we're going to talk about understanding, honoring, and living citizenship in the United States. The older I get, the more critical I think it is. USA citizenship is highly prized. Why? Why do millions of people, even at the risk of their lives, try and get into this country, and many millions, many of our ancestors did it the right way? Why? Why are people trying to get here?
Freedom.
Okay, and there's a lot of reasons. We're going to touch on them over and over in this presentation, but some of the biggest ones are
Religious freedom.
freedom, great.
I would just say economic.
Absolutely, economic opportunity. And those two often went hand in hand, and so forth and so on. I'm going to touch it from the point of view of life in other countries. How many of you have actually lived in other, not just visit, but actually live? You know, I was a missionary in Brazil for 2 years and so forth. That's my only real overseas. But how many here have actually lived overseas for some amount of time? Okay, good. And what were the countries, just out of curiosity?
I was a British citizen and I naturalized.
Oh!
She's from England.
You're going to tie into my thing here in just a little while. Perfect. I'm glad to know that. And where else?
I lived in Argentina and Mexico.
Okay, and where else? Well, all I can say is there's a lot of great countries in the world, and I really like President Trump when he says, "Make America Great Again." He says, "I want every country to be great." You know, I want make England great again, make Argentina great again, make every country should be great. We all want, but the reality is, I know the 2 years I spent in Brazil, I love Brazil, great country, it's wonderful. I'll say wonderful things about it. But I remember the feeling when I flew back into US airspace and just looked down. I flew into Miami coming home. I looked down, I saw Miami, and then got off, and I just started crying. Brazil was good. It didn't treat me badly. It treated me okay. But I was back on my homeland. But I was back in the USA, and I thought, if immigrants coming here have something akin to that. I had just the tiniest little taste. So, you know, by contrast, the USA offers something that so many other countries don't. Citizenship, I got a whole list of questions for us to ponder. We're not going to answer all these right now. We will as we go along. Here's one. Are you a citizen? And can you prove that?
Birth certificate.
For most of us, the answer is
Birth certificate.
birth certificate. That's well, but then how did you become one? Because for most of us, we were children of citizens, right?
Yes.
We were born in America, though that's not an absolute requirement, and we were children of citizens. Okay, we're going to talk more about that. Rights and privileges, duties and obligations. We're going to spend a big chunk of the presentation later talking about those, so be thinking about them. Who qualifies to be a citizen? Interesting question. Who can become it? Why does it matter? Is it worth protecting? And this question of is it worth protecting has been a big one for a number of years now with the open border and all this kind of stuff. Why does it matter? Just let people come. Why is it important to protect citizenship? Here's another question. Should we require everyone, including you and me, to be naturalized? That's actually kind of the core question that drove my presentation. I'm going to get to it a little bit later. This idea of if, Helena, if she had to be naturalized, and I'm going to tell the story of my sister-in-law would be naturalized, my grandparents naturalized, why not me? I never went through a naturalization process. Why not? Did you take an oath? You did.
I did.
And what should happen to those who violate their oath of citizenship? Now, these are all questions. I'm going to have a bunch more for us to chew on as we go along, so just be thinking about those, pondering. Now, let's just start with the definition. In Merriam-Webster, what is a citizen? It's a native naturalized person who owes allegiance to a government and is entitled to protection from it. Okay, sure. That sounds straightforward. Okay, the 14th Amendment, upon which a lot of this hinges, right? All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. It seems clear enough. Well, if you're born here, a lot of emphasis has been being put on that next phrase, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Just because you're born on our soil doesn't mean you're subject to its jurisdiction. Now that's kind of a legalese type thing, but that's right at the heart of a lot of the big things that I keep deferring. We'll get to it. So, all right. And there's always been controversies when the country was created. Who are citizens? Who are citizens of the United States of America? Right at the very, very beginning. And there was questions about slaves and Indian tribes. Are they citizens? And there's always been these other issues of diplomatic families and born as citizens but overseas, but born here but to non-citizens. And all the entitlements and obligations, who gets all those? The naturalization process, revocation, dual citizenship. So there's still a lot of points of question and controversy and issues that surround this whole thing, as precious as this concept is. And of course, the current major controversy is the birthright citizenship. How do you think this should work?
Well, we know that China was sending pregnant women here to go set up at a hotel, deliver their baby, get the birth certificate, and head back to China.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's what it's talking about. And they're doing it, and they come across the border.
The border,
pregnant.
that was a huge thing,
Yeah.
the anchor babies.
Anchor babies.
That would, so forth and so on. What's the problem with that?
They're not citizens.
Why
They
not?
don't live here.
They were born on our soil.
Yeah, I know, and that was a major problem on that 14th Amendment.
So that's where it kind of goes back to this subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Just because somebody's here on a trip and has a baby, are they then subject to
And
the
Trump would like
jurisdiction?
to fix that.
Well, and many countries, and I think this is, excuse me, what Trump is pushing towards, many countries do have the restricted definition that at least one parent has to be a citizen already. And I think part of the naturalization process is if you're a adult, whatever, with children, as you become naturalized, it can reach down to your minor children and allow them to become citizens at the same time, is my understanding of how that works. But the point is, at least one parent, somebody has to have come through the front door the right way. Somebody has to have done it right. And just the mere fact of being born on our soil should not entitle citizenship. Before I move on, any other thoughts on that?
I agree too.
Yeah, and it seems pretty common sense in a lot of ways. Now, defining citizenship in the USA, this is where my wife will tell you, I play a lot of read my mind. What is it I'm thinking? But it's really a question of saying, let's talk about this a little bit, and then I'll show you what I'm thinking. In the USA, what are the foundational principles that help to define our country and citizenship? What is it we're protecting? Why is it people want to come? What is it we want? What are we putting a boundary around? What are the things that define our country and our citizenship in some way that's valuable and some maybe unique and precious to maintain? And then I'll hit the button and you'll see the list I came up with. But before I do that, just what are your thoughts? What are some of the things in our country that make citizenship so meaningful to have?
Well, it goes back anciently to the Abrahamic covenants of the land and security, prosperity, and posterity. And so in order to have all of those, there needs to be, those four need to be there for the value to increase and to create an environment for families to proliferate and for security, for the protection, the priesthood basically presiding, providing, and protecting.
Beautiful. I love it. Almost the same idea of building our home, right? Why do we own a home with walls and locks? Because, we love other people. We want to interact. But there comes a point where we say, this is ours, and we're going to control what's within this environment. What are the thoughts? What else in the USA, and again, I'm playing read my mind, but defines who we are and makes citizenship so precious? Any other thoughts? Here, I'll just hit the button.
Okay.
Oh, did you? Sorry. But let's talk about these as we go along. These are just my thoughts, my ideas. But to me, this idea of self-government, the United States of America was very, very unique in the history of the world, right? Rarely had a significant population said we'll govern ourselves rather than the king or so forth. And because it always been thought normal people are just too stupid. They're too stupid and immoral to govern themselves. And they have to have the strong ruling hand of a king, a monarch, whatever, to keep them on the right road. And our founding fathers said, no, we think we can do that. What a unique, what an audacious thing to do. But there it is. The idea, I'm going to own me and I'm going to be me, and along with other like-minded people, we're going to create not a democracy, but a Democratic Republic. And I just hate it when the liberals are bewailing destroy our democracy. And they've been called out so many times, by Charlie Kirk and many others who say, do you think we live in a democracy? Well, yeah, we live in a democracy. No, we do not live in a democracy on purpose. There's a reason they specifically, and Charlie Kirk used to point that out. He says, show me where in the founding documents it ever uses the word democracy, because it's not there. Now, a democratic republic is, but anyway.
To the republic for which it
To the
stands,
republic.
that's right.
And the huge difference is law, justice, yes.
I just wanted to say, there's some truth to the fact that I'm not sure we are capable of governing ourselves. The thing that makes it possible is what you have right there, Christian morality.
Yep.
When we have the law of God and we individually live it and choose to follow it, then we are capable. But if you destroy that foundation, we fall into a pit of carnal natures and then it doesn't work.
Amen, amen. And you'll see later in here somewhere I have John Adams' quote where he says, the government we're providing is fit only for a virtuous people and is of no value to anybody else. And he's right. And yes, thank you. That without that undergirding, I keep harkening, to me, my wife will tell you, the answer to every question is the war chapters in the Book of Mormon. I keep going back to those, because you had Captain Moroni, and that was essential, but just as critical was the prophets. And it makes it absolutely clear we just as badly needed Alma and Helaman and the other prophets building up the morality of the people, even as Captain Moroni is building up the physical defenses and the armies. So, yeah, both those. Thank you, thank you. Justice, the idea of justice. We're going to be treated fairly. I'm going to come here and be treated fairly. We're all equal before God, yes.
So, in my viewpoint, when Biden opened the borders, I do not believe that people were coming for this. I believe they were coming for stuff.
Amen.
Yeah.
They were coming
They
for
even promised it, Colette.
welfare and free housing, free cell phones, free vouchers. It wasn't for this type of stuff, the loyalty, the gratitude, the morality.
Yeah.
I think some
I
of
think-
them were.
That's how I feel. There's probably
There
a
might be
mix,
some.
but I think a lot were coming.
That's Colette's belief. I believe it was for stuff.
Well,
really do.
I think a lot of them, there's some truth to that. There may have been a certain number trying for this, but I think you're absolutely correct in a lot of ways. Thank you.
But if they really wanted this, they'd come through the front door instead of coming through the back door.
Well, and that's my
Unless
feeling.
They were being
Do
pursued
it the
by
right way.
evil.
Do it the right way.
Yeah.
Another huge one is the naturalized freedom and the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That declaration was unique in the history of mankind, right? The rights we have were not given to us by government or by a king. They were given to us by God. And we have a right to those rights and a right to defend those rights that God gave us, not a king. And that idea just swells the human soul, just goes, yes, that's right. But along with that is responsibility and self-reliance. If you're going to come and have these freedoms and benefits, and this gets back to the morality issue, teaching, then be responsible. Be self-reliant. Take accountability. Live by the golden rule. Treat other people decently. There's all these balancing ideas that go with it. I like the idea of intelligent citizenship. Don't just be a citizen, be an intelligent citizen, know what that means, live it properly and so forth. And then above all, loyalty and gratitude. Gratitude. And again, I still maintain people who whine about our country, fine. I guess they have the freedom to do that. They should be required to live in Slovenia or someplace for 3 years before they can come back and whine about our country. And at least have some, we're not perfect, we're messy, but have some degree of gratitude for what it is we have here. Okay. And we've already talked about a lot of these. Why is citizenship important? It defines, we've mentioned a lot of these, our privileged obligations, cultural identity, language, borders, these ideas were all kind of mentioned. But that's why it's important. We need to define who's a citizen, who's
And I
not.
think they should learn our language.
Yes, absolutely.
Steve and I did property management for a gentleman. He was from Lebanon. And he was an older gentleman. His mother was quite old. They'd been in our country like 35 years. she couldn't speak a word of English.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, how can you live here and not even learn how to assimilate? That's the thing, is you come here to assimilate, not to bring your culture and make these kids walk around with the Mexican flag and say, we want the Mexican life. Come and assimilate if you want to be a citizen.
Thank you. A little later, you're going to hear a little more of my personal story. But I'll tell you a little now. 3 of my grandparents were born in Sweden. Okay? So that's grandparents, meaning my parents were first generation Americans. I'm a second generation American, however you want to figure that. And my great-grandfather, Gustav Omer, he was 40-something when he and his wife and their children, including my grandfather, immigrated. My grandfather immigrated when he was 12. They came to this country. Well, the years go by, and my grandfather is raising my father and his family and so forth. His father, Gustav, the original Swede, was in his home and said, Gideon, you're not teaching your children Swedish. And Gideon's response was, Dad, we're in America. We're Americans now. Now, nobody honored their Swedish heritage more than my grandfather. He went to the Swedish meetings and he did this and he did that. But in the end, he said, we're Americans. We love our Swedish heritage, but we are now Americans. And our children learning English. I don't know one word of Swedish. The Swedish chef on Sesame Street, that's as good as I can get on my Swedish. And then shame on me, but there we go. We become assimilated. We learn the language, borders, so forth. Okay, any other thoughts on this? I'm going to move on. I'm going to talk about the benefits and the obligations of citizenship. And again, I'm just going to jump to my slide. What are some of the benefits? We've already touched on a lot of these. If one of these kind of jumps out and hits you, throw in a comment. It's my presentation, I'll freely comment, right? But the first one I love is because I control me. It's back to Jefferson and the natural law, the natural rights. I am the owner of me. I make my decisions. I control my life. I'm the one who decides what I want to be. Now, that's within these larger realms of respect and golden rule and fairness and justice and everybody else and so forth and so on. But in the end, and supported by the idea of responsibilities, if I claim that freedom, I must claim the responsibility then for myself. I can't keep pointing and saying, oh, it's their fault and I blame them and I'm this way because of that. No, I'm me, but that's such great freedom. That means I can choose. Okay, property, gigantic. That was almost unheard of. Over in England and every other country, the country belonged to the king. The king owned the land. He owned the people. And everybody only, did anything by permission of the king. The idea of owning property was revolutionary. Jefferson's initial phrase was life, liberty, and property.
Yes.
He ended up changing to pursuit of happiness, but that was understood to mean including the right to own property. That's gigantic. We cannot pursue happiness without owning property.
You know why they changed it?
Why then?
Because property was considered slave owners. They were property.
Oh.
And so they did not want that negative connotation of I can own a slave, so they changed it to the pursuit of happiness.
Thank you. Obviously a hot button issue in those days, so okay, it still is. Thank you very much. As you look this over, we could talk about any one of these.
Steve and I went on a cruise, and we went to Cancun. And somehow we got sucked into a timeshare, and they wanted us to buy in on the condo. You know that you couldn't buy the condo. It was a 40-year lease.
Right.
So you couldn't have ownership. Mm-hmm. I thought, well, that was interesting. And from what I understand, there's a lot of countries that it's just a lease. You can't own it.
Right. Well, and the truth is, even right here in good old Lehigh, Utah, in a lot of ways, we don't own our homes.
Well, not in our HOA here.
Well, but try not paying your property taxes for a year or two.
Yeah.
And see who owns your home.
Taxes are getting very high.
And
That owning property is impossible now in Utah for.
right, so there's been over time, you know, Babylon wants to encroach on every one of our liberties relentlessly, and they have. I mean, we're fighting this battle over and over and over again. So even as we own property, there's challenges to even that.
Well, even the basics of water and air, they want to claim the airspace above, they want to claim the all the water rights and falls.
There's that.
That didn't used to be the case, and they recently changed those laws. Yeah.
Well, the battle goes on. What does this really mean, freedom? How do we balance that, Steve?
Yeah, I worked in construction, and they took me out of the field, put me in the shop, and I ran the shops. And half of my crews always were, I would say illegals, people coming into America and working in the factory and stuff. And I remember this guy from Holland, and this is when I was very first there. And he had a party, he came to work, gave us cookies, donuts, and he went home and had a party because he bought a house. He couldn't do that in Holland. He put his name up on the house, and he came and showed us a picture of his. He was the most proud guy you've ever seen in your life. And you know, we all buy houses, you know, or we have the right to.
At least we have the right to, and most people do.
I mean, and then it was him, and then it went from him to the Tongans. I guess you would say we had Tongan crews, and they're a very happy, lively group of people that are hard workers, but they are loving people, but still have their own culture, you know.
Yeah.
And they did the same thing. They got houses and they'd have parties, and they'd invite me to their parties and stuff, you know, and cook a horse or whatever.
I've been to the cooked pig luau before, but I've never been to the cooked horse.
But what was funny is, like, we had this one guy who was there, and he took care of the back shop, and one day there was a young kid back there cleaning the shop and doing stuff, and I went to the guy that, does anybody know who that kid is? And I said, yeah, that's the only son. He couldn't make it today, so he sent his son down. Well, we couldn't just do that, you know. They had to, you know. But he was a bishop, and he had 20 kids.
Oh.
20 kids, you know.
But
anyway,
one wife?
But the thing I was going to say was, then we went from the Tongans to Hispanics became a big thing, and we just had one group after another.
The Bosnians.
And every one of them were just happy, excited when they got to buy a house.
Yeah.
And I think ownership is one of the most important things that you can do here.
Thank you. The history of Western Europe was one of serfdom. You know, that the king or the lord owned the land, and the serfs were tenants who worked the land and so forth and so on. And the idea of owning land, yeah, America, that was part of the American dream, was there was opportunity, there was freedom, and to own property. And so if somebody came, the movie, It's a Wonderful Life, we've all seen it, right? What was the miracle George Bailey was affecting in the lives of all those sweet people in, what's the name of the town?
Home ownership.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Falls, Bedford Falls. Yeah, they made a big point that Mr. Martini would never have owned a home without George Bailey helping him, because the bad banker wanted to keep everybody as tenants, rent payers, instead of letting them own. So this idea of ownership has been at the core, especially home ownership of the United States. What else? Anything else? These benefits of citizenship? Anything else that hit you that you want to comment on?
Well, these smart cities, because like I was on TV the other day up in where the prison was, and he was saying, we'll provide the helicopter, we'll provide the food, we'll provide this, we'll provide that, and we'll pay me. He didn't say that part, but it was like, oh my gosh, that is so un-American.
It seems to be. So you're correct. I agree with you. Now I'm going to back up just 1 minute and say what I love about America is it gives us these choices. We can indeed be a tenant if we so choose. And a lot of people choose that.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, you know, I'd rather be a tenant. Yeah, I can live in an HOA if I want to. I can not live in an HOA if I want to. I can own, I can rent. So you're right. Within that, you're kind of like, But in this broader picture, I celebrate the fact that there's this unspeakable choice, richness that's out there. Cheryl can tell you this little tangent. We go to the grocery store. We just go to Harmon's up the street. And she can tell every other time, I'll just stop in awe and look around and just go, look at this. Humble little Lehigh, ordinary people. We go up to the store, and in the middle of winter, we're buying bananas, maybe raspberries, and 10,000 other things at our fingertips that the kings of history could not even imagine. And then we go home to an air-conditioned home or a heated home with running water and all this stuff, and you just what?
Hot showers.
Hot showers and all this stuff.
We live like kings.
We live better than most kings throughout the history of the world, and so it's incredible. All right, any other thoughts on this list before I? Yes, please.
What is most frustrating, I completely agree with everything you said about home ownership, but what's happening here in Utah from our politicians is really quite disgusting. We have so many developers up at the Capitol. They are the ones pushing for this high-density garbage. And I wouldn't be as opposed to high-density if the kids could own it, but they can't. They're renting it. Because these developers have figured out, I'm gonna make a lot more money by getting $2,000 every month off of you for the next 10 years. So what we've been fighting, and they won't do this either, if you look at the rental rates in a lot of our high-density apartments, there's like 20-25% vacancy. And they won't lower the rent. So we are trying to put pressure on them to say, all you have to do is pass a vacancy tax. The development has to pay a tax if they have too many units sitting empty, because then they would lower the rate and we could fill it, but they're not. So we have lost this premise of the benefit of home ownership, and it is hurting our younger generation. And as people who do own houses, we have got to be helping this younger generation, because our government isn't, especially here in Utah.
I hear you. A lot of times, so two thoughts. I agree mostly with what you say. Let me just throw out a thought or two. That in a lot of cases, to me, renting is a stepping stone. I know it has been. It was us.
Should be, yes.
It should be the stepping stone to eventual home ownership. To me, the answer to that. Now, forgive me if a slightly different perspective. The answer to me is not more government; it's less government. That says, as long I'm a free market guy bordering on libertarian. Okay. To me, the idea is let the market do its thing. Don't let anybody distort it one way or the other. And so to me, the answer to people charging too high a rent is let Fred over here build rental apartments at the lower rate and let him rent them out, fill up his apartment. If they're charging $3,000 a month, let him charge $2,000 a month. And pretty soon people are gonna go, oh, looky there. And go over and they'll rent from Fred instead of from Bill. Don't force Bill to do lower rents. Just let Fred build and do lower. And so I'm very much kind of a market guy that says just let people find the solutions to that. But I hear what you're saying. That
There's a difference between free market and conspiracy. And we've got a conspiracy, don't we?
oh, sure. I mean, the first thing that happens in the free market is distortions and cronyism and corruption. And I get that. The first thing free markets want to do is get government on their side.
And I agree with you 100%.
I totally get that. To me, the answer is not
supply and demand.
to compensate with more government. It's to compensate by getting the cronyism out of it.
Well, and it's creating a new serfdom and new
Yes.
plantations in the cities.
Yes.
And like the slavery thing, it's the same thing.
Well, it is, but I still come back to the issue of choice. When all's said and done, people are free to leave the city. They just are.
Yeah.
We have a couple kids talking about, and we all live right around here, Dad, maybe we're going to move to Missouri. Do you know for the price of a home here, you can get 3 acres and everything else out in Missouri? And we're like, well, at least we'll know where we're going on vacation, you know?
True.
And so to me, the answer is okay, freedom. Go exercise your choice somewhere else and let it be exercised somewhere else. Okay, we're going down a little rabbit hole, and I kind of want to keep moving on this, but one or two more and we'll go on.
You said you're bordering on free market and liberalism. What do you mean?
Libertarian.
Libertarianism.
What do you mean by that?
Oh my, there's another rabbit hole. I shouldn't have brought that up. Well, you've studied, I'm sure, the 5,000 year leap, right? By Skousen, you've got the extremes, anarchy, total tyranny, and you need just enough control to maintain order and justice and a few other things here, right? And then it starts becoming overreach and government and tyranny and blah, blah, blah. Libertarianism, as I understand it, is just right on that edge that says, give me the maximum amount of freedom you possibly can.
Without government
Without the
intervention.
government interfering. Now, you don't want to allow murder and theft and all that kind of stuff, great. But other than that, let everybody choose what they want. The government should not be in the business of telling people what they should be choosing. That's not their business.
A libertarian would say, what do we need a driver's license for? You know,
Perhaps.
as long as we drive around and we're safe. You know, I mean, they're a little more like, let's get all the government rules and stuff out of the way. That was just an example.
It's an interesting discussion, and even within libertarianism, they have as many flavors as anybody else does.
Yeah.
And I have to be careful. I just kind of lean towards freedom is what I do. I lean towards let me choose what I want to do. Boy, if we went down that rabbit hole, another fascinating one is marriage. Yeah. I've heard a lot say, why is government in the business of marriage? Why is that a governmental contract? Why are there family courts? This is absurd and ridiculous. Interesting discussion. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Okay, we've jumped down 3 or 4 rabbit holes, and I'm pulling us back.
Can I
What?
ask one more question?
One more, and then
I listened to this podcast on socialism, and it was quite educational. And it said that the youth right now are wanting to choose that. And then he brought up what's going on in our city councils and stuff. And he said, so these builders come in, and he's not from here, so he wasn't from Utah. And he said, they go in, and they say blah, 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 just like what you said. And then they said, oh, we need $5 million to build. And that's kind of what's happening here in our valley. They get that $5 million when they go to the city council. They get that subsidies.
Mm-hmm.
And so in your lecture today, in freedom, what do you do at that kind of thing? When freedom and citizenship, they don't, because we went to the meetings, we watched it happen, 10,000 apartments went up in Murray. We don't even have the space for that.
Right.
But they did it anyway because they got subsidized by our dear sweet leadership.
these are really valid issues that I'm not even going to address. Forgive me, but it's good these are on the radar because here it is. Here is democracy or democratic republic. This is citizens governing themselves in action. That we come to, and it's messy. It's like even our founding fathers, you know, they didn't agree. They were back and forth and fighting and and all this stuff. So it is a messy process, and I'm frankly, forgive me, I'm going to kind of leave it at that. But your point is really valid that as we seek to govern ourselves, it's not this nice, clean, utopian kumbaya thing. We're all human beings still, and we have to figure it out. So forgive me if I kind of dodged the immediate issue, but it's a really, really valid one. I know. These are great. This is great. Now, one last thing I'm going to touch on before I go on is towards the bottom there, justice. One thing I would suggest that people came to America for was this, we're all equal to God. We're equal under the law, eyes of the law. There is not a caste system. There is not different levels of justice. No person's above the law, as we've heard our elected officials often say. And we want that to be true. We want that law to be fair and apply to everybody equally. I dare suggest that's mostly true even in our states of corruption that we're in today. Else why would people be coming here? We are trying to make that more true. But that is the ideal, I believe, one of the ideals that has driven so many people to come to the United States is because the freedom, the property, religion, we didn't really touch on that, but that's gigantic. Speech, that's gigantic. And justice. And if I'm accused of something, I have a right to face my accuser. I have a right to a jury and so forth and so on. I think that's just really important.
That's our First Amendment.
Yeah. Now, we can say a million more things. I'm going to go on. Now, along with all these benefits, what are all the... Okay, with that comes all the responsibilities. And again, rather than say, read my mind, here's my thoughts. Look through the list. Let's talk about a few of them for just a couple minutes, and we'll move on. I'm still only partway through my presentation. So, but here's what I suggest, then, are some of the responsibilities of citizenship. And when I say intelligent citizenship, that first couple lines, that's what I mean. Know it. Know the law. What is it? I love the man on the street interviews where they go up to the college kids and say, how many branches of government are there?
Yeah.
They can't name them.
No.
They don't know where the branches are. You know, who is the president that freed the slaves? Is that George? And the Civil War. Well, anyway, they ask all these basic questions, and they, you know, excuse me. So we've got to know our law, support it, teach it.
You know why that is happening?
Why?
Because whether it's in the church or in our country, if you don't know your doctrine or your laws, it's very easy to subvert you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And who, again, our founding fathers, this is fit only for moral people, but there is also a quote I can't pull up about education. I think it may have been by Jefferson of, you know, we need an educated
Populace, right?
populace, citizenship. And because this self-government thing cannot work unless you have a moral, educated.
Do you know why they took cursive out of schools?
No.
You can't read your founding documents in cursive if you don't learn cursive. No, it's true.
Well, now they've all been put into, you can find them all in regular type on the internet, but.
I understand that, but there's a method to the madness.
Now that could be.
Skousen taught that. He said that when you write in cursive, you learn 8 times greater than if you print.
No, there's something to that.
There's a method to the madness. You can control the people if you take away these things.
There's something to that. Thank you. And along with this intelligent citizenship, in the middle there is that participate in government, and if nothing else, vote. Vote intelligently. Maybe I agree with you, maybe I don't, but we both have our reasons for voting, and we're going to go vote. And who's served on a jury? Whoa! Excellent.
I got kicked out.
Well, no, who actually served and saw the trial?
My son.
Okay, so 2 of you so far. How many have received a jury summons? Now, almost all of us have. But then for various reasons, they say, nah, you're too white or something. And they kick off. Again, it's the citizen involvement. We are the government. We are the courts. We do our part. Let's see, defense, military, taxes, blah, blah, blah. Any other, we, again, could spend a lot of time just on this one slide, but before I move on, any others that kind of grab you that you want to mention something about? These are what I think are our responsibilities for this wonderful place we live in. Freedom isn't free. Who started that saying? I can't remember, but freedom is not free.
Well, one thing too, you've got an employer that drives over to Home Depot and fills up the back of his truck with people, pay him cash. That's not a good thing.
It's not proper under today's laws, that's correct. Yeah, that's okay. There's another rabbit hole. Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, you
All right.
asked and it's on there.
I know, it is. All right, moving on. The values, so why is it that so many people are willing, is for moral, decent people, the benefits of citizenship are so much greater than the responsibilities. Okay, now I'm going to push on just a little bit. This idea of worthy citizenship, is it worth protecting, and how do we do that? How do we protect citizenship? I suggest good citizens are not made by accident. Good citizens requires having focus and purpose. It's just not accidental. You don't wake up being a good, okay. And there is a basic process for both native, anybody who was born a citizen like me, I'm going to call you native citizens as opposed to the naturalized. Same process for both native and naturalized is we need to learn. To be a good citizen, we need to learn everything we've been talking about, history, laws, so forth. We need to have some kind of testing to demonstrate our qualification. We need to make some kind of a commitment to that and then live it honorably. Now those 4 steps I'm going to suggest are really important. Let me move into, okay, for natural.
I have one question though, back on the, I heard that they no longer require them to take a test. Is that true or not?
Oh, if you're going on the website today,
Okay,
there's
all
a
right.
test.
I had heard that they had done away with.
For
it.
naturalized citizens?
To become a citizen.
No, I was on the website just days ago and it was
Okay,
still there.
all right.
In fact,
Good, that's good to know.
yeah, we're gonna get there. We're gonna give you some of the
Perfect.
tests. Okay, so now for naturalized citizens, and Helena, you can help check me on this, make sure I speak correctly. For naturalized citizens, this process is specific and explicit. It results in intentional citizens, people who mean to be citizens, as opposed to us natives, where the process is really kind of vague, ambiguous and vague. You have a lot of people growing up not having any idea of what that means. There's citizenship in this great country. Many do, many don't. So you have a broad spectrum. Let's look at both of them. Let's start with naturalization. Here's our 10-step process that is, if you go to the government's website today, here is the 10-step process that you're going to find for becoming naturalized. The first 2 are just figuring out, are you already a citizen? Are you eligible to become one? That's actually a little bit of a deal. In general, if you were born here and one of your parents was a citizen, then you're almost certainly going to be determined already to be a citizen. But there's enough questions surrounding that, you know, if you're not sure, we need to figure it out. Prepare the N400 form. I didn't put that here because it's 28 pages long. And they've got an N600 form that, so you got all these horrendous forms to fill out and to determine all the eligibility stuff. Submit the form, pay your fees. My understanding is the actual fees themselves, my sister-in-law told me, were not that horrendous. $50, $100, something like that. What were your fees?
I don't remember.
But they're minimal.
While.
Where people talk about, oh, it's so expensive, is where they feel they need to hire lawyers to help them become naturalized. That's apparently where the expense comes in. Well, I need a lawyer to help me get through this. Yeah, that's what the lawyers say. But the actual fees themselves, I'm not sure. Go to your biometrics appointment. What's biometrics? Fingerprints and stuff like that. And just checking if you have a history in the records or anything like that. Then you go to the interview where there's a test involved. We're going to come back and talk about that test a little bit. Then you receive a decision, and if it's yes, then you receive notice to take the oath, and then you take the oath, and then you continue living under the understanding of what U.S. citizen means. Those are the 10 steps. I'm going to focus on 6 and 9. To me, that's where the real meat is qualifications, then taking an oath. Okay, so when you take the test, there's an English test. It's pretty simple. Basically, if you can say you know how to buy milk at the store, you probably pass the test. It's not that hard. But then there's a civics test, and we're going to spend a couple minutes on this. And they have a list of 100 questions from which they will select 10, and you only have to answer 6 of them correctly. And you kind of go, that doesn't sound too hard. And 57 for American government, 30 on American history, and 13 on integrated civics. Well, let's find out. Let's try a few of the questions.
All right.
I have in my hand here the 100 questions. We're going to do 10 of them. Keep score for yourself. See if you get 6 of them right. And so what I need, we have more than 10 people here, but I just need a random number between 1 and 100.
37.
Oops, I heard 3 and then 30. Okay, hey, don't forget those numbers. Those are important. I heard 3. Here we go. Keep track of yourself. Number 3, the idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are these words?
We the people.
Ta-da! Now, you didn't raise your hand, Colette.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, if you knew the answer to that, give yourself 1 point. Okay, so that was question number 3. Somebody said 37? Okay, here we go. Number 37. What does the judicial branch do? And they give 4 different things that you might be able to name here. What? So think for a sec. Okay, now raise your hand to shout out. What does the judicial branch do? Okay, Colette, we're going to ask somebody. Yeah, you're right. And maybe we'll come back to you. We'll see. Anybody else have a venture a thought? What does the judicial branch do? Don't be bashful here.
Enforce the laws.
Well,
Make the laws.
they what?
Make the laws.
We're close. They don't quite make them and they don't quite enforce them. Sorry about that.
Executive branch enforces them. They,
Who makes the laws?
the legislature.
Legislative, not judicial.
That's right.
We're talking about judicial.
They enforce.
And who enforces laws? The executive branch.
Executive.
So what does the judicial do then?
They interpret the Constitution.
There we go. Or they review the law. Here's their answers. Review the laws, explain the laws, resolve disputes, and decide if a law goes against the Constitution. So the judicial branch's main job is to explain and decide what the law means. Okay, decide if you're going to give yourself credit on that one. Okay, what was another number I heard?
25.
25. Here we go. Number 20. Somebody keep track. This is a third question. Somebody help keep track how many I've done. Number 25. Why do some states have more representatives than other states? Think about it. Okay, who else wants to venture a guess? I know Colette's going to have an answer to every one of these. So
Because of the population.
the main reason is population. That's right. And here's their answers. Because of state's population, they have more people. Some states have more people. So it boils down to population. Because the House of Representatives is decided upon population, right? It's representative depending on fraction. Okay, that was our third question, I think. Okay, somebody in the back, throw me a number.
66.
What?
66.
66. Mark of the beast. Close.
Not quite.
Oh, come on. This might be too easy. Number 66. When was the Constitution written? It's actually a pretty interesting question. When was the Constitution written?
1789.
Close.
Oh, the Constitution. I'm thinking that.
Exactly, that's why I'm emphasizing.
89, yeah.
When was now be careful, every word's important. The Constitution written, not ratified, written. When was the Constitution written? Okay, you're close.
1783?
I haven't heard the right answer yet.
Okay.
1787.
Okay.
Now, that's when it was written. I think it was ratified 89, wasn't it?
Did you know today's Constitution Day? September
Is it?
17th? It is.
Ta-da! I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
Well, I should have modified that. What day was the Constitution? September 17th.
September 17th.
1787.
Today.
Okay, there we go. I think that was question number 4. There was another number I didn't catch.
11.
I said 42.
42. Let's try 42. Hang on. Question 42. Ooh. Under our Constitution, some powers belong to the states under the Constitution. What is one power of the states according to the Constitution? They give 5 examples.
Elections?
Education.
It doesn't list elections here. It does list education, schooling and education.
No way, it lists education? I
Well,
didn't know that. Then let's get rid of the Department of Education.
exactly,
That's what-
exactly.
Who did that?
Any other guesses before I read the list? To the states belongs. Okay, I'll read it. Provide schooling and education, provide protection, police, provide safety like the fire department, give a driver's license, and approve zoning and land use. Now, it's interesting, it doesn't say elections. We all know there are state level elections, but, okay. I mean, that doesn't mean to be exhaustive either. Okay, somebody pick a real high, real, something, I don't care, any number.
Number 1.
You've done more than 5.
Was
He
that
said
fun?
number 1.
Let's do number 1. Number 1, what is the supreme law of the land? The Constitution, that's correct. All right, are you keeping score? That was number
That was 6.
that was 6. Okay, somebody throw out maybe a high number somewhere.
Yeah, high one.
92.
92, I'm looking right at 92. Name, now this is in the civics part. Name one state that borders Canada. And by the way, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 13 states that border Canada.
Montana,
Washington,
You're all,
New York,
you have all named.
Michigan,
So I think you got almost, there's
North Dakota.
Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Minnesota, North Dakota, Montana, Idaho, Washington, and Alaska. Was your state on that list? Give yourself a point if it was. Okay, that was number 7. Okay, any number.
11.
No, that's another one.
11.
I was like, 11?
11. Here we go. 11's a good number. What is the economic system in the United States?
Free market?
Free enterprise.
Free enterprise?
These are good
Well, it
answers.
used to be.
It gives 2 possible answers to that, and one of them includes the word market economy. So if you said free market economy, that's one of them.
Okay.
They would also count it if you said capitalistic economy. I don't like that answer. Here's a little teeny tangent. It's a potential rabbit hole, and I'm just going to mention that I don't like the use, when we're trying to describe a free market economy, I don't like the use of the term capitalistic, because every economic system is capitalistic. Every economic system under the most horrendous tyrant in the world is capitalistic. That's not the issue. There's capital in every system. The issue is who controls it. And so the free market economy comes closer to that idea of we get to control our own economics, blah, 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 blah. Sorry for the little aside. That was number 7?
I think that was an important
That,
Okay.
that was 11. So pick 77.
77, ooh, I was just waiting. No, I wasn't. 77, let's see what 77 says. Ooh, okay. What did Susan B. Anthony do?
She wrote our
wrote-
the
For
song.
the women's vote.
You're thinking of somebody
Oh,
else.
yeah.
Okay, what was that?
She grew up and was a suffragette for the women's vote.
Okay, their answer is a little bit broader than that. She fought for women's rights and fought for civil rights. Okay, but you're on the right track. Yeah, you're thinking of,
I know. Yeah.
I can't remember.
I know.
Howe, something Howe who wrote, no, anyway,
Julia Howe.
might be, that's Battle Hymn of the Republic though, isn't it? Anyway, I'm getting things. Okay, that was number 8. I think we got 2 more. Did I hear, what?
93.
93, there we go. Oops, this is another bordering thing. Name one state that borders Mexico.
California.
They have 4.
New Mexico.
California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. Yeah. Okay, one more question. And I'm gonna pick one. Am I overlooking somebody in there have their feelings certified?
I say 50 something, but I don't know.
Let's go right smack in the middle, 50. Name one right only for United States citizens. Name a right that you can only have if you're a United States citizen.
Vote.
That is the main one.
Yep.
Voting in a federal election, or an akin to that is running for a federal office. There you go, guys. We had you had your how'd you do? Are you still a citizen?
I did get a couple wrong.
Well, it's surprised, as I read through those, and my initial blush was, well, I've been through 18 years of schooling, of course I know all this stuff. And I was surprised how many of those I was kind of like, I think I done. And so the fact that they only have to get 6 out of 10 right, I say, okay, I guess. Helena, you must have got at least 6 of 10 right there, huh?
I got 8 of 10.
Boo, yeah, okay, excellent. Steve, you had thought?
Do they let them grade themselves?
No, they do not.
Because I was real good in school when we got to pass your paper.
You're telling us much more about yourself than you are about the test. Okay,
Brad, you know what I wanted to add?
what's that?
If we took the driver's test today, we might have forgotten a lot too.
That's right.
Some of the specific laws, because
So-
I helped my daughter pass the test and I was shocked how much I.
Yeah, you would have brushed up on it, yes.
I just want to tell kind of a funny story. When I lived in Washington State, I was choir director, and we sang for the 4th of July song that was put to the Pledge of Allegiance. And when my first husband went to pass the citizenship test, there's this big birdie guy, really serious and just, kind of a little intimidating. And one of the questions was, do you know the Pledge of Allegiance? And all I could think of was, I pledge allegiance to
You sang the song.
of the United States, and he sang the whole thing to him. And the guy just kind of looked up from his glasses. And he said, well, I've never heard that before.
I love it. But it counts. That counts. That's beautiful. I love it. Thank you. Okay, folks, I'm about halfway through my presentation, and I intend to finish at 11:30. So I'm going to push just a teeny bit more here. Okay, that was the test. Good job. I spent a lot of time on that, but it's kind of fun to think about a little bit. If I had to go through it, how would that work? How about the oath? What should be in the oath for citizenship? What would you be willing to swear to? When I finally read the oath, I kind of had to think about it a little bit. Now, here we go. It's a little small. I apologize. I hope you can see that. But there's kind of 4 elements to this. The first one you can barely see is yellow. You can't see it at all. Sorry. Right at the beginning and the end, it says, I declare on oath, and then it says in the end, I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, so help me God. This is as solemn as an oath as we know how to administer civilly. But then it says, okay, what am I swearing to? And the first major element is, I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure any allegiance, fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty of which I have heretofore been a subject citizen. I will have no division to my loyalty. Now, one of the controversies is dual citizenship. Whether you're dual citizenship or not, here's the oath. And then the second main part, the one that we hear more of, is I swear that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I'll bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Okay, powerful stuff. And the third one is performing various duties that the government may call you to perform non-combatant service, national importance, civilian direction. Oh, I'm bearing arms. I'll bear arms on behalf of the United States when required. And so the swearing is pretty darn specific, saying, okay, if you're going to be a citizen of this country, be ready to do this. These are the potentially life and death situations. Are we willing to make that commitment? I think we all are. But this idea of becoming naturalized is kind of a big deal. Now, Helena and others who have been through this, help me out. I'm going to tell a teeny bit of the story of my sister-in-law. Here's my brother Ken and his wife Audrey, my sister-in-law. And her story, I learned a lot. I interviewed him and said, tell me about it, because she was a Canadian citizen. Okay, her parents were Dutch. After the war, they came to Canada, and then they wanted to come to America. It's a huge long story, and I don't have time for all of it, but essentially she became a legal immigrant, got the green card, right? That said, okay, you're legal to be here. You're not a full citizen. You have certain rights and responsibilities. Well, one of the opportunities she had as a green card legal immigrant was to join the armed services. She joined the Air Force. My brother was in the Air Force. They met in the Philippines, of all places. And they fell in love. They came back here and got married, but then went back to the Philippines with the military. And their oldest child, Lauren, top left there, who is now 40 years old, he was born in the Philippines. Well, is he a citizen?
Yes.
And the answer is yes, he is. But even that was tricky, because when Lauren graduated from high school, wanted to get, driver's license and just full ride, they had to go to the immigration office to make it perfectly clear, is Lauren a citizen or not? And at that time, even then, the immigration officer said the condition of the laws at the time of his birth dictate that he is a citizen. If he were born today, it may be different. There may be some other things that he may have to be naturalized. But as it was, my nephew was declared a citizen of the country. Audrey, the wife, she finally did go through the full naturalization process. She's well into adulthood, had kids. They moved back to the United States. She had left the armed services, so forth and so on. And she went through the full process, did the test, did the oath, did the whole bit, raised her hand. And I think it was my brother, who was a military officer, got to swear her in, which was kind of a cool experience. So now, Helena, add real quickly, and what do you want to add to that process?
It's just interesting, on your previous page, I'm a dual citizen. So
Right.
They make you swear that oath, and then they don't make you renounce your citizenship.
That I entirely renounce. So that's more of a moral renouncing than a legal renouncing.
I personally think they should. So if I had gone the other way, if I had gone and gotten citizenship in England, England would have made me renounce my U.S. citizenship.
Right. And this continues as one of the controversies that I had listed on one of the first slides, is dual citizenship. Does the United States allow it? And the answer is yeah, kind of. But if it came right down to it, if you started asserting your British rights over your American rights, there may be something there.
I only really kept mine because it was easier to get into England on a British passport.
There you go.
That's
there you
really
go.
why I kept it.
For travel purposes. Yeah, good job. Anyway, so the whole naturalization process, and I'm going to keep going. How about us natives? Could we pass the test? Well, we just tried.
Yeah.
We did pretty good. Would we be willing to take the oath? And my feeling is yes, most of us probably would be very happy to take that oath. So this 4-step process, how about us natives? And I'm going to go through this a little bit quickly, forgive me. What's our process for worthy citizenship? Just in the learning, how do we learn? And isn't that supposed to be mainly in schools and family, right? Now, in our world, you might also say social media, and what else, in my humble opinion, schools have declined horrifically in their civics education and the instilling of patriotism. families, as far as I can tell, have become dismal. Not our families, but by and large, families have had a lot of problems because the media, the societal structure is not supporting them very well. It used to be you'd watch the TV shows, family dramas on TV, and you had a whole family and they were loyal and they were patriotic and they went to church and da-da-da. Boy, to find that in today's media is nearly impossible. So this whole learning thing, and it wasn't Reagan who said we're always just one generation away from losing our republic. Every generation, and we're seeing that today, acting out, okay.
Well, I have to say, I only had a half a year of civics in seventh grade.
Yeah, there we go.
That's all.
Junior high, half a
So how
year.
do I teach my children
Yeah.
unless I learn it?
Because you don't remember it from junior high school.
Right. And the colleges certainly don't care.
They don't. And the high schools don't.
Yeah, so now it used to be the society was inculcated. Of course, they went through world wars and they went through other
Yes.
things that made it impossible to ignore. Well, okay. Testing and qualifying, you know. Yeah, we take our tests in school, but there's no official test of competence of citizenship in our current society.
Wouldn't that be nice if there were a required citizenship class in
Yeah.
high school?
There used to be, it was civics, and it was required to take it when we were.
Right. And I'm not an expert on current curriculum, but I don't think that's emphasized now.
It's not either, it's not.
And an oath, us natives, when did we ever take a solemn oath? I never have. The closest we come is what we did today with the Pledge of Allegiance.
And they've even taken that out of schools too.
Right.
Or once a week, or it used to be daily.
Now, those who have been in the military or elected office, they do take that oath. We have seen how easily a lot of our elected officials just utterly dismiss that oath.
Yep.
The military, we've got a bunch, I've not been in the military, but I have a lot of family that has been, and the military, they're a lot more serious about that oath that they take, at least 98% of them. They take this whole patriotism, defending the Constitution pretty seriously from what I've been able to see.
It was interesting that they said foreign or domestic.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing lots of domestic.
Saying what, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Foreign or domestic, yes.
All enemies, foreign or domestic.
Yes, absolutely. So, and then how about understanding and living it? And again, it's back to this idea of being in it. How do we get native citizens understanding and living it? Being an intelligent citizen, military and civil service, health, voting. Obviously, joining the Sisters of Liberty is one of the great methods to be a great citizen. And what else? So
Brad,
yes,
who
please.
Seeing through this Charlie Kirk thing, who has been one of the biggest problems for the youth? It's the teachers and the professors.
Yes.
There are more liberals in our education system, and as long as there are liberals in our education system, this is not changing, because they don't want you to know this.
9-1.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh boy, there's another whole talking about conspiracies. I'm a little bit of a conspiracy guy, but when you look at what's happened to American education, to entertainment, to politics, to finance, to all the major power structures of our society over the last 100 years, they have all been infiltrated horrifyingly with the bad stuff. Yeah, it's just frightening. And so we're still just one generation. We still have to push back. We still have to fight.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we still just as much as Captain Ronay. Everything comes back to Captain Ronay. Yes. So back to the question, should we have to take the test and the oath? And how do we protect the idea of worthy citizenships? Okay, I'm down to my last few slides here. And I've got a couple analogies about this whole thing. Look at Richmond, look at the Marriotts and the Huntsmans and the Buffetts and so forth. You have one person or a couple rise from nothing to billionaires. Well, they knew how they got it. And their heirs have always been problematic. Some of their heirs learn the business, they respect it, they know how to maintain it, they know how to keep it up. But by and large, many of their heirs do what? Squander it. And I worry that our political inheritance is just as incredible as any billionaire's. And if we don't learn how to respect it and maintain it, then I think so much of what's going on is a squandering today. That we have people who are abusing the very system that allows them to have freedom of speech, and they use it to destroy, and they're squandering. They're throwing it away. Wasn't it Jefferson who said that the tree of liberty has to be refreshed every so often with the blood of patriots? And it's true, because it's not going to maintain it by itself. We have to maintain it. So there's one analogy about how do we maintain citizenship. The other one, it kind of is interesting to me, is membership in the LDS Church. Nobody is born a member of the church. I wasn't. You weren't. We start as a child of record. Now, go to church with her, and I know some of you were not born in the LDS Church, and you know what I'm talking about, though. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to make this too broad a brush. But we start as a child of record, and we are only become a member when we are judged to be reasonably accountable, and we have been properly taught, and we make our promises and commitments. And then we have a method for maintaining and renewing that worthiness. I kind of like that model. There's something about that model that I kind of like. And in fact, I'm going to skip it. Here we go. So this is my radical idea. Here's what we ought to do to maintain good citizenship, is kind of follow that model. A native-born person starts as a proto-citizen, learn and prepare, take all the classes, at age 21, take the test and the oath. And if you fail it or renounce it, we'll give you a one-way ticket to another country. I personally kind of like that idea. Look,
nice.
Either love it or leave it. Either support this country or go somewhere else. I don't think that's too harsh myself. Now, here's an extreme example from Captain Riley. Like I say, everything comes back to Captain Riley. He was fighting an existential battle. He was fighting for their lives and their very existence against the Amalekites. Amaleki was a great kingman. And it came to pass that whomsoever the Amalekites that would not enter into a covenant to support the cause of freedom, that they might maintain a free government, he caused to be put to death. And there were but few who denied the covenant of freedom. And now we look at that and go, oh, okay, even for us patriots, that feels awfully harsh and awfully, it probably is. It's from a different time, different place, different sort. They were fighting a war. It was either kill or be killed, frankly.
Yes. It was survival.
It was survival. Mm-hmm. And he had to enforce freedom at the point of a sword. But when he finally put that sword under the chin of the Amalekites and said, will you enter into a covenant to support our free government? And he didn't say, well, if you say no, we'll be frustrated, but we'll let you go, or we'll put you in jail. He said, no, we will put you to death. It was that extreme for them. Now, what can we learn? Will it ever get that extreme for us? I hope not. I hope not. But I think there's something of a lesson to be learned in there. Yes, please.
What has always struck me about this is that that they would keep their oath even though they were mortal enemies. I mean, that if they swore, they would keep their word. Mm-hmm. And today, you don't know.
You can't trust it. There was something about their culture that even the bad guys would never make an oath without keeping it. So Moroni, oh gosh, I want to talk about Moroni every time I talk. They'd fight, and if he could just once bring them to stop, he'd say, look, throw down your weapons, take an oath of peace, and we'll let you go. For heck's sake, we'll give you land. You know, we don't hate you. I'm not going to kill you if you'll be peaceful. I'll treat you as a brother if you will just quit killing us. You know? Oh, you got me started. Okay, I'm going to pull myself back here. Okay, now we talked about...
Comes down to pride or not.
What?
Comes down to pride or not. They had to put down their pride with that sword in order to take that oath.
That was part of it. Thank you. How do we keep citizenship in the USA? Now, just a few weeks ago, we had Trent Staggs here. Thank you. I'm young to this effort. I didn't know who Trent Staggs was. I've never heard him speak. I was so impressed. I came away from that going, whoa, why didn't he win Senate seat?
Conspiracy!
I know. Anyway, he wrote that.
Anyone among the delegates, we liked him 70% of us.
Exactly. And I went out immediately and bought his book, Heirs of the Revolution. I read it, just like he said, it's meant to be read in 3 hours. I took 3 hours and read it. Great book, I loved it. But his first chapter was on how do we restore the value of citizenship in this great country. Now here's his list. This does not include taking an oath, but it's almost implied in there. But this was his list. Back to the education and testing. No dual citizenship. Sorry, Helena. And birthright citizenship, okay. Promote cultural unity over multiculturalism. This is another great Charlie Kirk quote. He said, diversity is not our strength. Diversity is our weakness. Our strength is unity, unification, come together. Yeah, will we be diverse? Sure, but our strength is unity. Okay, immigration enforcement, which yay for Trump, and restore confidence in elections, which, so that was Trent Staggs' list. Now, whatever your list is, it'll probably contain elements that I've thrashed at, that he all these different things we've talked about. How do we maintain worthy citizenship? How do we create and maintain worthy citizenship in our marvelous country? Oh, and then I was going to do, we've kind of talked about this. I was going to say, I want to contrast bad citizenship with good citizenship. Bad citizenship, I was going to read my mind, but let's just look at the list again. And we all know, here's all the different, or many of the evidence, not all of them, of course, evidences of bad citizenship. I hate the biting the hand that feeds you. I hate it when this country, we've had thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, mostly men, shed their blood so that we have free speech. And then we have people take that free speech and weaponize it and abuse it against the very country that gave them that right. Yeah. And I just think that's just so morally wrong, unjustifiable, bordering on criminal, everything else. I just can't comprehend people abusing the unspeakable freedoms that we enjoy, censoring, entitlement, abusing. Are there any of these that are grabbing you that you want to say something about?
They're all great.
But so we all know what bad citizenship looks like. People who are just fight against all the goodness that we have.
Has anyone else heard of the story called The Man Without a Country? Back in the Revolutionary times?
I've heard the title, but
that because he was a traitor, he was exiled to a ship that could never touch land again.
I've heard that.
And, people don't understand just the price that people, anyway, the privilege it is to be here.
yeah. Thank you. This almost gets back into the renown that we rarely hear of citizenships being revoked, is what I meant to say, revoked. Trump said something recently. Trump's not bashful to share his opinion, and there was somebody, who was it, where he said, yeah, we'll look at revoking their citizenship, and I can't think now who it was he's referring to. Could have been a lot of different people.
Well, I know there was that Columbia campus guy. He's married to an American girl. He's here on a visa. He's a Muslim, and he's free Palestine, and he was, and they threw him in jail, and they were going to revoke his visa, and of course wicked judges are trying to stop that. But I mean, when you're here visiting, even if you're married to an American citizen, doesn't give you the right to denigrate our country and disrespect our flag and our anthem.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
I said that even about the denigrating our founders. They paid such a high price.
Oh.
For all of our
they could have come if they lost. And so when they didn't have to be perfect.
No.
They fought for our freedom. And so when people denigrate them, and our texts change their history.
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great example.
They called it an experiment in freedom, And here's the thing though, cultures can change. Our culture has changed in the church. There's cultures that change all the time. I would say, yes, it creates a culture, but it's based upon the rule of law that goes back to ancient Israel, Abrahamic covenant. And that's the difference, is that now it's between God and adversarial forces. We're going to be covenant to truth or not. And we can speak like that whether you are LDS or any other kind of person is having integrity and kind of like those 4 agreements we talked about.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, please.
There's this radio, BYU radio, and I listen to it. That's basically all I listen to when I'm driving. And they have this woman who she always says, I want to get you uncomfortable. And so she put this, one of her podcasts on, and now it's been on twice, in 22 and then this year. And it was about the professor she interviewed degraded the founding fathers. And I just thought, if you're going to do that, you never give it the opposite perspective.
Right.
And here, this is going out to the world, because BYU Radio is all over the world. And I just think, oh, it's just so hard for me to
Yeah.
listen
And
to
how can
us.
they be employed at BYU of all
I-
places?
It's just, to me, because it's part of our scriptures, is we honor the Constitution
Right.
as a sacred document.
Right.
And yet she can do that.
I know.
Christian radio.
I just remember to say it's not political, it's doctrinal.
These are all fabulous points, all. Thank you, thank you. Now, I'm going to go ahead then and say, okay, then what does good citizen? And this is kind of the note I want to end on, is, and we've been talking about this all along. So, but then how do we then maintain good citizenship? How do we create and maintain good citizenship? And of course, a lot of it comes back to what's been mentioned before, the morality, and Adam saying this is fit only for immoral people. And we know that morality, oh gosh, okay, here's a little side trip, real quick, real short. Our founding fathers, what I really, really liked about them is they were very God-loving, God-fearing men, but they were not sectarians. Most of them did not aggressively associate with a particular denomination, or if they did, it was kind of lightly. But they were, most of them, forthright in their belief in God. Now, why do I like that? Because it enabled them to inculcate into our laws and our entire social fabric biblical morality, which is the foundation of Western civilization, right? Biblical morality without favoring any one religion. And indeed, insisting on freedom of religion, even as we are built on a biblical morality. That, to me, is one of the most miraculous juxtaposings that the founding of our country brought together, was to found us on a biblical morality without explicit religious affiliation. And I think, thank you, because then we have agency, we have freedom, we have everything we want to have, but it's within this wonderful framework of the golden rule. I'll be nice to you, you be nice to me, let's get along, let's da-da-da, so forth and so on. Okay, there's my little side, I'll come back.
No, it's perfect, because anyone of any religion can follow the Constitution. And that was the reason why they came here, was freedom of religion, because England forced them to be at the Church of England. And people could,
Right.
and they said enough's enough, and they left.
Right, it's freedom of religion, but with the safety of the underlying morality.
Yes.
And anyway, so yeah,
Yes.
Steve, yes, thank you.
Going back to Charlie Kirk, they asked him, what do you think is the number one thing we could do in education to make things better? And he said, the 10 Commandments.
Boom.
And he said, I don't care if you're atheist, Buddhist, LDS, doesn't matter what you are. He said, if you start at number 5, 4 or 5, honor your mother and your father, don't steal, don't lie, don't kill.
Don't envy,
Don't covet, treat your neighbors good. He says that's all we need to do.
And most good moral systems have something of that version in them. They have something of that. Thank you. Brilliant,
Do you
brilliant.
remember, like when I was in high school, guys that brought their trucks to school always had guns on the, mounted in the back, and nobody was shooting anybody.
No.
But then they take out morals out of the school, and what do they start doing? Shooting everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. On and on. Thank you. Wonderful comment. So, promoting good citizenship, at least this was kind of my attempt to kind of summarize some of those things. I think these are things we all kind of sort of agree on. Appreciate what we have. Flying the flag, pledging allegiance. And what I like is the Charlie Kirk movement is people pushing back saying, I'm tired of being told to be embarrassed of my country.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being told I'm ashamed of my country. I'm sick and tired of that. We are not ashamed. We love our country. We promote its values. And so you have 1 million people in London and thousands in Korea shouting, I am Charlie Kirk, because they feel something to that same. Okay, here's, I think, my last slide maybe. And this is just my personal thing. This is just it's time for my testimony, right? Like you, I love this country. As I mentioned before, I'm a third generation. That is to say, my grandfather was born in Sweden and moved to America. So I kind of count him as first generation American, even though he was born in Sweden. And by the way, this picture, there's my grandfather, Gideon Omer. In a photo with his parents, Gustav and Alma Omer, from Sweden. And he immigrated to the United States when he was 12 years old. That's a whole nother story. He came over by himself. That's a whole nother story. So that's my grandfather. So my father was the first one born in America. I'm the second generation born in America through these lines, through 3 of my lines. And my father and his brothers were the first ones to go to college, and all that kind of stuff. And so it's that recent. And my grandparents, those 3 born in Sweden, all had to become naturalized. They came in legally. They came in through Boston and Ellis Island and so forth, and they were here legally as legal immigrants, but then they all had to go through the naturalization process to become full citizens. And then my parents born, I'm born. And so all I can say is just how the older I get, just the more grateful, more amazed I am that God would allow. We know it was for the restoration. We know it was for His glory and for His plan and the things He had to do. And there had to be some place for the restoration to occur. There had to be some place that had that right mix of freedoms and education and technology and blah, 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 and everything that had to fit together for the restoration to come to pass. And God chose this land. And that's not the surprising part. The surprising part is He allowed little humble Brad Omer to be part of this, to be born into unspeakable privilege that when I was young, like everybody, I didn't appreciate it. I did, but just as a child appreciates it. The older I become, the more I appreciate, and I think I'm speaking for all or most of us in sharing those sentiments. So to me, citizenship in the United States is just simply an amazing blessing for each one of us to cherish, and I'm done.
Asking my own comment. Everything that you have just said, if we put it into the gospel, we are preparing for citizenship in something even greater.
Yes.
And it will be citizenship in Zion.
Yes.
Where there will be oaths, but they will be to our God. And it will be consecration and stewardship and unity and obedience to His commandments. And we will have the choice to align or not.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you. We're getting ready. As we all acknowledge, as grateful, as wonderful as the USA is, it's a worldly organization. God is helping us. But we're all preparing for Zion. We're all preparing for the citizenship.
There will be borders around the New
Yes, there
Jerusalem.
will.
Yes, there will.
You won't be able to come in.
That you're not worthy.
No dual citizenship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct, no questions.
Hey, Colette, now that we're at the very, very end, I'm suddenly thinking, I wonder if we ought to invite this good brother to introduce himself.
Oh, I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Ah, you thought you escaped that, didn't you?
I did.
That was my bad, I apologize.
That's okay. I'm visiting from out of state. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, or near Atlanta, north of Atlanta. I have four sons who, 3 of them are out here.
And what's your name?
Greg Barron.
Greg Brown.
And I'm a convert of the church about 52 years. And my boys are out here and doing all well. And
Tell them why you came.
How did you find out about this group?
well, I was at the Book of Mormons conference. Spoke with Tammy and a few other people, and
Ah,
she invited me to come sometime. So I thought I'd come on down.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Trent Staggs is the mayor of Riverton
I
that
know
he talked about, so.
Yeah, my son, was he a bishop, Trent?
I don't know,
I'm not sure.
I think he was in my son's ward.
probably.
My son lives in Riverton, or 2 of my sons live in Riverton, so. Sorry, I missed that presentation, that would've been good, because my son was supporting his candidacy.
Yeah, as most of us were. Well, on behalf of the group, welcome.
He works for Trump.